I'll never see somebody again. Whew.
Yeah, great, Q. I think we're ready to roll, man.
Okay. You can open up. Okay, right. Now we're ready. Right. Thank you, everybody, for joining IYX Africa today in our conference. And special thanks to everybody from organizations that is coming through to, how can I say, give advice and guidance to many of these youth that is looking at becoming better environmentalists, better community activists than what they are. And by learning about how this exchange is valuable, many of our organizations and our people don't know each other. And it is very hard to find this information out there because of how many organizations is out there actually doing this, but we don't have much that's really, how can I say, fully involved in what we are doing on the ground. So this is a way for us to introduce youth to these activists all around the country. Some of them participate from other countries, and to learn from each other and find ways to come up with solutions to, answers environmentally that we ask, as well as socially, that is not being answered by our leaders, nor do we see change. So this is a way for us to sit on this conference today and allow the youth to discuss amongst themselves the changes they need to see and experience, from us fighting for food security to fighting for our land rights and identity rights. So here it is. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And our agenda today is as follows. We will open today with a, how can I say, a greeting and a introduction from a very respected elder in our lives called Mafoi. And yes, Dave, if you please roll out with our introduction from Mafoi and our opening. So we can continue with the discussion. Do we have some volume? Well, everybody, while Dave sorts out the volume, this is Mafoi, Prusa's quote. Lives in Uppington and is an indigenous cultural activist as well as leader. I just don't have no TV. Okay. Hello, Dave.
Q, that's the best volume we've got, man. Yeah, it was windy in Uppington. Can you guys hear?
Is anybody else capable of hearing other than myself? Because I can't hear anything.
Couldn't hear anything, Q.
No one is hearing anything. Look at your main volume.
Yeah. So is no sounds coming through?
Okay, right. Let's leave Mahoy for last then and go on to the introduction to everybody that has read. Okay, Dave. Let's remove the. Yes, let's just go on. Continue. So everybody, today we will ask one by one everybody to introduce themselves, starting with Dave. Dave, please start introducing yourself, and we can continue going down the line of introducing 19 participants. Yeah, thank you for the 19 participants on. And yes, Dave, can you please start?
Greetings, everybody. Hello. I'm David O'Byrne. I'm from Pretoria, Pretoria, Gauteng, South Africa. I studied geology and geography at Rhodes University, and it was the year after I studied that I had the fortune of meeting Q and of meeting Shari. The whole time I was studying, we'd been raising money to build a skate park for the community there. And the year I was done studying, guys, can everyone please just mute themselves, please?
Please.
Okay, perfect. So it was 2020, COVID had just hit, and I was invited back to Grahamstown to work on the construction of the skate park. So I met Q7 there, Shari was there as well. We had the most incredible experience building the skate park. We were all living together in the house. And Q really opened my eyes up to the indigenous struggles of Southern Africa, something I knew absolutely nothing about. And I think that goes for most South Africans. And I thought, now this is something that's really, really important. It was a pivotal time of my life, thinking what can I best do with my energy to make a difference? And meeting Q and meeting Shari, it all seemed like fate. And since then, man, it's been a crazy trip. We've been to Uppington. I've met Mahoy, who we tried to get on for you guys to say a prayer, and we're gonna try to figure it out. And I've met such incredible people. Beginning of this year, we did a walk in protest of oil exploration in northern Botswana. It was myself, it was Q, it was our brother Chico, it was Goofy Jack, the Quake King. So I've really been so lucky to meet such incredible indigenous people. And I believe this indigenous narrative, it needs to get out there, because I can tell you from where I'm from, my community, man, we're lost. We don't know. Everyone's just going after money. They've got no sense for love for our brothers and sisters. They've got no sense of environmentalism. And that's why I think it's so important that we get this narrative out, because we need help. I think everyone can see that this world's in a terrible way with climate change, with everything. So thank you so much for everyone for being here, and I'm very excited to see what you guys bring up. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Dave is also one of the directors on the board of IYX Africa, as well as somebody that works very close to me with our communities. Next, we have Robin Gora. Robin.
Hi. Yes, thank you so much for having me. My name is Robin. I am 22 years old. I am a digital creator, content creator, and social commentator on my YouTube channel called Westside with Wanderlust, as well as my Instagram at A Proud Bushy. And the core of my content is exploring past and present indigenous issues and sharing valuable information with South African communities. Like Dave just said, we are lost. We don't know, like South Africa as a whole doesn't know much, if anything at all, about indigenous communities and struggles we face. And I plan on amplifying each and every voice in our Indigenous communities. I think Craig is muted.
Yeah, thank you very much, Robin.
Oh,
And
thank you.
it's wonderful to have you here. Next, we have Shani. Shani is my brother in Tanzania, and not just a person that I know, but a person on the ground in Indigenous law, as well as one of the guardians of a tribe that really needs attention from the world, the Hadzabe. So welcome, Shani, and nice to have you, my brother. Could you please unmute yourself? Could you have Shani unmuted?
Hi, everyone.
Excellent. Hi, Shani.
You hear me?
I can hear you, brother.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I think I'm really happy and very excited to have me too in this wonderful meeting. And it was like, oh my God, I'm so much excited. You know, in short, my name is Shani Msafiri. I'm from Tanzania, and I am one of the few Hadzabes who are reaching the best level of education. My professionals is I'm a lawyer by professional, and also now I'm working with one of the organizations which we were created in US. It's called Olanakwe Community Fund, and I'm acting director here in Tanzania. And yeah, a few weeks and months ago, we tried to help in Hadzabe kids get everything they needed in the school. We try to provide like exercise books, uniform, shoes, jersey for football, and other stuff which every single children who are studying school, they must get it as their right. And I've been working a lot as an active lawyer, you know, to advocating my people here in Tanzania, because also we have a lot of challenges going on here. A lot of people doesn't understand about our lifestyle in it. For others, people see it's like it's a complicated life. It's not the life which every single human being right now today, they must live like that. Every people's thinking that we need to develop, we need to move, we need to have a wonderful house, cars, you know. So I've been standing in the Biowatch community to represent my people and be one of the key to tell them that this is the life of every single human being, and it's our right, it's our choice to live the way we are. We don't need to force it with anybody else. But the important thing is we need to share equal rights, same like every single citizen of these countries. So this is also my task here, and I've been representing my community in different organizations before I went to US and I came back again, and I work right now to Olanakwe. And I think on December I'll be in law school, taking my advocacy programs for 1 year, and then probably hopefully next year maybe we're going to take another indigenous program of UN department in UK. Because this is what I always want to train, because I need to know a lot why these people who have futures like us, we are still suffering a lot. So I feel like try to study a lot in order to come back to have to be capable to stand and defending and to be ambassadors of every single indigenous people who get suffered because of the negative interest of the government, or maybe from outsiders who come in to invest and take over everything from them, and sometimes to evict them from their original range and bring them somewhere where there's nothing there. So this is one a lot of things which I've been like, see, it's my time, you know, to conquer a lot and gain a lot of knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shani. Thank you very much. Welcome. Next, we have Young from Johannesburg. Welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Dion Shimizu. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I'm Dion Shimizu. I live in Nuclear, Westbury.
Sorry, could you put
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. So I live in New Clay, Westbury, Johannesburg, in South Africa, and I am passionate about the environment and finding ways to do good by the environment and for the people in small and insignificant ways, but they add up. And I am a broadcaster on IYX radio, and I do environmental and holistic wellness and plant medicine with Shari Canal. And that's actually how I met Q7 as well. So yeah, that's me, and nice to meet everybody.
Thank you very much, Leon. Next, we will have Kirsten. Kirsten, can you unmute yourself? Please unmute yourself, brother. Can we have somebody unmute Kirsten? Yes, now I can. Now let's try with this. I think your volume is down, please. I still can't hear you. Yes, could you please just try? It's coming on and off. Check again, look at your plugs or your settings. Okay, let's come back to Kirsten while Kirsten sorts out herself here. Kirsten, please mute yourself and we'll come back to you. Next, we have my sister Martha. How are you doing, Martha? Martha Mangumbu from Platsfontein, Northern Cape. Could you please unmute Martha?
Hello everyone, this is Martha.
Hello, Martha.
I am from Northern Cape, Platsfontein, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you. I just struggled to log in, but finally I managed to log in and to join all of you. And I hope I did not miss anything, because I really love this, and I really want to be part of this to share you all my stories. But mine is very short, so
Martha, could you tell him where you're from and what tribe you belong to and what you try to achieve for your community?
Sorry?
Could you tell him where you're from, what tribe you're from, and what you're trying to achieve for your community?
Okay, I'm from Platsfontein, the Kong community here in Platsfontein. I'm also the chairperson of Monte Craft, and then my profession is translation. I'm translating the Bible from English to Kontali.
Thank you very much, Martha.
Yeah.
That is Martha from
We can't hear you.
Hugh, you muted.
Hello, yes. Sorry about that.
Try come
Yes.
closer to the speaker, please. We're struggling to hear you. Or maybe
Can you
take
hear me now?
Yeah, or it might be the earphones, I don't know.
Yes, it's the earphones. People, next is my brother Kabbo from South Africa, Cape Town, but at the moment he's in the UK. He won't be with us for long. So Kabbo, please have a say, my brother. Unmute yourself. Ferdinand. Okay, let's go over to our next person would be Vanessa Black from Durban. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here. I'm Vanessa Black. I work with an organization called Biowatch South Africa, and we work with smallholder farmers promoting agroecology and advocating against the industrial food system that's messing up our health in the world. And I'm also a volunteer with IYX Africa and have been since I was a student. and also the South Durban Community Environmental Alliance, organizations both working for environmental justice and working on pollution issues and many other issues. Thanks, it's great to be here, everyone.
Thank you, Vanessa. Next, we will have Sean. Sean McDonald, are you on? Please unmute yourself.
Greetings, ancestral Tavedas to everyone. Titronske Sean. I am from Tuik, an activist for people. I am currently the provincial leader of an advocacy organization called IFNASA. So it's Indigenous First Nation Advocacy South Africa. I'm extremely honored and pleased to be part of this gathering and this discussion. I want to thank everyone for the work that you're putting in here. There's a lot of work to be done. I'm excited for the connections to be made. So yeah, let's get going. Kai Gangangs.
Gangangs, my brother. Thank you for having me. Next, we have Shivani from Reimagine Learning. Please unmute yourself.
Yo, bless up, people. My name is Shivani, connecting from Johannesburg, South Africa. So the work that I represent is big on, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with terms like unschooling or decolonial pedagogies, where we are looking at indigenous natural pedagogies as sort of the entry or the doorway into not only healing, but sort of, yeah.
We can't hear anything.
We can't hear, I think okay, while that is happening, could we please have Neville and Cheryl from Boyd, husband and wife from Johannesburg as well. So we please unmute yourself.
Hello, Q. Did you want me to introduce myself?
Yes, Neville. You somebody I really would like to.
Hi, good. My name's Neville Felix. I'm currently on the collective platform, leadership collective platform of UNDRIP 1652. We are a consolidation of Khoisan people. I know Sean from the Land Summit. He remembers me from the Land Summit. The Khoi and Land Summit with it in IFNASA held here in Johannesburg, I think in 2018. And we probably were the main orchestrators of the outcomes of that Land Summit through the mercy of our Creator, you know, and our ancestors. They've given us knowledge. But we've got a long record, so I don't even know where to begin with. But yes, we've been involved in numerous processes from a governance perspective, from a political perspective. I see you've got environmentalists on your show. And if you want to Google me, you'll see that we were famous, myself and Cheryl, but she'll introduce herself. We were actually the people that took on ISCO. You remember ISCO, the ISCO debacle with the underground water problem? Here in the Vaal Triangle in Gauteng. And we managed to get government to put them under pressure, and we put them internationally under pressure as well. We worked with Spadeworks and a number of other people. And like I said, we had to make a choice many, many years ago when this then CEO said to us, Mr. Felix, please tell me, man, what will it cost to make this problem go away? And I immediately understood him. And I said to him, no, what you need to do is get new farm portions for everybody that is affected by this process, remove the people from the process. Let's establish a medical trust so that everybody registers to that medical trust, and whatever the challenges is with your development here, that we can address this. And obviously, you know, neo-capitalism and companies don't want to deal with these things. And this is the actual challenge of Africa as a whole. But anyway, that's a long story. If you want to read it, you can look it up on the internet or Google us. But I'm currently the head of Statecraft Stratcom at UNDRIP 1652 Leadership Collective that is bringing together the convergence of leadership amongst our people so that we start to facilitate a common trajectory, develop a common purpose, and take our people forward. It's a pity last week you just missed an opportunity with us, but we can, at the later stage, do the presentations to you. I have Brother Billy Steenkamp that's also on. And we will produce the 3 R's document that is actually a roadmap that tries to consolidate all our people together, and it then tells us the steps that we need to take. It doesn't dictate. It does a comprehensive overview of everything that we do. We're also part of a lot of other organizations, FINSA, we know with NASA, we know everybody in the sphere. Because our view is to bring the nation. We about the nation, developing the nation and flowing into the same trajectory. But enough for me. You learn from me as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there we have the people. These are people.
Hello.
Very important.
Hi, it's Cheryl. It's a pleasure to you. And I think Neville's done most of it, but from a woman's perspective and from being in the movement, I'm proud to say that we are fighting on the ground. I'll take it to a different trajectory because where he is, you will find me, and I don't cower in the shadow. I work alongside him. And what we're also doing, Neville is a deputy chair, and at the moment the chair of the Khoisan, of the Cannabis fraternity down here in Gauteng. I represent the indigenous knowledge systems for the Khoisan people, also on that. And my daughter happens to be the first youth leader for the Khoisan. I keep on saying Khoisan because she's also close to my heart, for the Cannabis Council, sorry. Yeah, in Gauteng, and we're busy branching out. The reason why, and I'd like to state why I say proudly that I am leading the IKS, the Indigenous Khoisan knowledge systems for that, is because I was told 3 years ago I'm going to die in a hospital by a doctor, and I thought he was joking. I said, okay, when am I gonna die? He said, I'm going to do one more test and I'll tell you. And he said to me in November, you've only got 1 more month. Come to me at the end of November and I'll make you comfortable. Never branched out and found a doctor that was willing to put his reputation on the line and gave him cannabis medicines. And within 2 months, I was off my oxygen that I was on for 24/7 for 9 months. And I'm here and alive. This is why I want to be very to the point about cannabis. It's not all bad. When you look at our systems and you look at what we do and how we use it, there's a lot of capacitation that is needed out there. And with your help and with Shari's help, we're going to get it out there and we're going to get the word out there. Absolutely. I'm not going to bog you down with anything else further. I just want to thank you guys for this initiative. And I'm going to also invite you on to on one of the task teams to come and give us a lesson because we need it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shara. Thank you. It's always been a pleasure working with Shara, and our husband committed totally to not just changing our lives, but collecting information that is needed and very rare in our fight, because our community is not all filled up with what is the United Nations actually. People like Shani and Cheryl and our husband is very important in this, and simplifying a language we do not understand on the ground, and which is law, policy, and these rules and regulations laid off to us by governing bodies like the United Nations in indigenous rights. Next, we have Roberta Dipana. Please unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. Everyone, thank you so much. This is Sebastian, in fact. I just logged into her device because my device ran out of battery power. Like I said, my name is Sebastian Jardine. I'm from Eldorado Park in South Africa, Gauteng, and I'm part of the Kai Korana Royal House. I'm one of the senior headmen. I'm also a worker in the community. I'm an avid community activist. I like everything that I'm hearing from everyone. I also recently just joined the UNDRIP, the Youth Outreach Awareness Program. So yes, everything that I've been hearing from everyone that has been speaking, I'm really excited to be part of it. Currently, I am with Youth Cadets, so salute to you, Craig, for the work that you are doing. I see you wearing your military attire. We, at the moment, also with Youth Cadets, just giving them, some skills to one day, hopefully, to go into the military and at least have that opportunity as well. So this is the kind of work that I'm doing. It's community work. It all started 4 years ago when I recognized that there was a need for housing in our community, and that is where I went into. But as I got deeper into it, I realized that our communities are struggling from way much more than just the lack of housing, decent housing for that matter. There's economical crises, there's service delivery problems. So that has been my fight, and to join the teams as I've been, like I said, the team that I've been hearing from, I've been hearing good things. So to be part of it, I'm really excited, guys. So yeah, that's just from my side. I'm sorry that I may have to run because, like I said, I'm still with the Youth Cadets. I have a first aid class that I have to do. So yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, guys.
Thank you, Madam. Back to Thurston. Thurston, have you sorted out your sound? You can unmute yourself. Thurston, could you unmute yourself?
Can you hear?
Yes, I can.
Okay. My name is Thurston Jacobs. I'm part of IYX Radio. I am the interviews, and I'm also part of a record label called Wonderful Records, where we take artists to help them develop with their art. And then, yeah, we're trying to build our community music issues. What I am trying to involve the indigenous people in like South Africa.
Thurston, you have a network problem.
How do I?
Please type out your introduction into the chat, please. We are having difficulties. Thurston is in Kraaifontein, where network is not always reliable. So thank you. Please type in your introduction into the chat. And for everybody else, could you please identify yourself in the chat as well, so we can know each other. Thank you, Thurston. Your network is quite loose, right? Yes. So thank you, everybody. The rest of the introductions, please could we have that done in the group chat and as well as the Zoom chat to keep each other aware of who we actually are. We're starting off with environmentalists in the group, and discussing what they do and what is the importance of having these groups of people in society teaching us these various ways of protecting nature, protecting our community as well as our biodiversity. So first we have Vanessa Black. Please welcome everybody. Vanessa Black, our environmentalist, and what she does. Q&A will be held after that to youth out there and would like to know more about this that she does and how it can be used. Thank you.
Okay, so the organization that I work with, Biowatch, is looking at the food system. So as we know, I'm sure you all are aware of what's happening with food around us. Not only are people struggling to access food, struggling to afford food, and many people are going hungry, but also the food that we're eating is really bad. It's from the industrial food system, it's processed, it's traveling far, it's not giving us the nutrients we need anymore. So people are suffering from malnutrition, and that's, you see people, kids being stunted, you see obesity, which is also a malnutrition problem, where we're eating too many energy foods with no nutrients in them. So our organization is trying to counteract this industrial food system, which is also a form of extractivism. It's just multinationals extracting money and not really caring about the well-being of people. It's also got a lot of other negative consequences. So because of the way that the food system's structured, it's one of the major causes of climate change. As much as 37% of climate change gases arise from all of this processing and moving things around, etc. And the way that food is produced with fertilizer and pesticides and all those things. So we advocate for agroecology, which is natural food growing. It's food growing that's based on people's indigenous knowledge and working from that. And it's advocated throughout the world, especially by social movements, including indigenous people, who see food and medicine and their way of life as being one and the same thing and interrelated with our environment. So it's trying to learn from what we know already about growing food and where we are and our food systems that are related to that place and our culture. And so we advocate for food sovereignty and using those natural growing methods or production methods. It also includes fishers and pastoralists and people who aren't just growing crops. So it's looking at all our different ways of producing food. So that's one aspect of what I do. And otherwise, I also work, as I said, with Earthlife and South Durban Community Environmental Alliance, which is looking very much at environmental justice. So in the past, environmentalism was very aligned with conservation, and that excludes people, and in the past excluded people and said that people weren't part of the environment. So environmental justice is looking at all the issues of exclusion, of industrial developments like the oil refineries in Durban that are next to poor, mostly non-white communities, where people have been over the years abused by those industries and just looked as cheap labor, and where people work and then are fired when they get sick, etc. So it's trying to counter that whole injustice that's been done to people around their environment and not having access to healthy environments. So yeah, it's just in a nutshell, and feel free to ask me any other questions and I'll try and drop some resources also in the chat. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. So there you have it, Vanessa Black could answer this question. So is there any of the youth that would like to start asking? Please raise your hand. I see the things that please. Could we have maybe to be submitted, please?
Did you say can I raise my question?
Hand is up, Neville.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for that. I'm very excited to see that we've got somebody that is looking at the whole question of environmental rights, and also in particular food security, which speaks to both plants, fauna, and also the environment and the water resources and a whole range of things. Just recently, the African Union presented a paper that they need some of our people to participate in, because you see the challenge that we have, we've got most of our food resources is already controlled by these multinationals, as we've got this group called Monsanto here in South Africa that is part of the Tiger Brands group and owns something like 42% of the ownership in the Tiger Brands group. So for me, the issue is we need to start having this discussion on how do we facilitate seed banking of indigenous seeds, because what these guys have done, they've even taken over the seed market. So what they do is they sell you GMO modified seeds, and these seeds then rotates and it messes up the crop, and eventually it is going to spoil the indigenous seeds. And so we need to look at that, because otherwise we will become beholden to these people, and they'll use this as another method of recolonializing us at the end of the day, if we don't start a process of seed banking and then also encouraging some of these areas of how this can assist one another throughout the diaspora of our people. Thank you.
Thank you, Nebo. Vanessa, would you like to answer the level of that, or should I go on with the questions and you will answer when you just ask the questions?
Yeah, let's take all the questions, and then yeah, I'm sure there'll be.
Next we have Chief White. Chief White, would you please unmute yourself? Could you please have Chief White unmute yourself? Anybody else has questions for Vanessa Black? Is there anybody else who'd like to ask us any questions on environmentalism and agroecology, as well as the seed banking and seed saving? Do we have Palestinian companies on yourself?
Hi.
Hello,
good afternoon.
Chairperson. Yeah, Chairperson.
We have
Hello. Hello.
Good day, Chief White.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to raise a few issues. Yeah, one, our concerns around the food security process in South Africa. I'm from Johannesburg, Eldorado Park. I'm actually in Eldorado Park at the moment, but I'm from Coronationville. And my question today deals with the food security challenges that the Khoi and San people have, and how best can we address these issues, because we are not in the system. We are still busy with the legislative process and to test all the constitutionality of the law in South Africa. So in terms of that, what can you provide us or the platform provide us in order to deal with these matters? Thank you.
Thank you. We have the Palestinian company. Please.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Vanessa, my question is just this, man. We know South Africa is Monsanto land, man. And how are Biowatch approaching that problem? Because the maize, the corn, and everything else is been coming from the GMO producers. Thank you.
Okay, we have Vanessa. We have Dion. Sorry about that. Dion, we have Dion on music, please.
So my concern is the fact that in our nuclear Johannesburg, Westbury area, Coronationville, I see a trend that our children don't know where the food comes from. And I find that very alarming, because we need to raise a generation where we can be able to sustain ourselves completely without relying on shops or the government subsidies. Is there any solutions you can think of?
Thank you very much, Dion. Could we have Vanessa back, please?
All right, thanks for those questions. They're all very important questions. So I think I'll just speak to the GMO question first, and that's a tricky one. So as an organization and another organization called the African Center for Biodiversity, we've been trying to resist GMOs since their introduction in South Africa in the 1990s. And unfortunately, our government has been very swayed by, I think, funding from the corporations and countries that support them. So for a long time, USAID, for example, has funded African scientists being educated in the US, and then they in turn promote GMOs. And we also had quite a big biotechnology fraternity already in the country that really was vested in GMOs being promoted. So we've been one of the sort of mouthpieces for the biotech industry for some time. We haven't, I mean, we've gone through a lot of processes of objecting to all the GMOs because they introduced one at a time, and you have an opportunity to object to permits being issued for them, but it's a very difficult, long process. You need to have very technical people to speak to it. So there's a lot of work that's been done, but unfortunately, our maize, our cotton, and our soya in the country is GMO. Yeah, nothing else. We resisted potatoes being made into GMOs in South Africa. So that was a good one. But there's a lot of pressure now also on the continent. So what's been happening at, because some of the national governments like Zimbabwe have really resisted GMOs, the corporations have gone to the regional trading blocks and now the AU, and there's a new process at the AU to harmonize seed law and also biotechnology policy for the continent, which will really open things up and mean that GMOs come in. So given that, and given that we're not managing to persuade our government that they're a bad idea, and there's such a strong lobby, as Billy mentioned, Monsanto has had quite a lot of power in the country. The thing we can do really is to try and set up our own alternative system. So it's learning how to, as Chief White said, save seed, knowing where your traditional seed is, because traditional maize looks quite different from the hybrid maize. Just also to clarify, GMOs are inserted into hybrids. So commercial hybrids are also a problem because you can't save them and regrow them. They don't regrow the same. So it's starting to learn about that and learning who has seed in your community, to value them. Because for a long time, extension workers, etc., have devalued traditional seed. They've told people who keep them that they're backward, that their seed is backward and doesn't grow, etc. So it's trying to revive all those seed systems. And as an organization, we promote household seed banks. And the women, it's mostly women who keep the seed, and those seed custodians, finding who's still got the old seed and then finding ways to bulk it, to share it. Yeah, I mean, there's also a process in our law to try and prevent people from sharing seed and prevent selling seed in bulk, but one just keeps going. So yeah, finding ways to do that, and then finding ways, so agroecology is about the natural way of growing, based on mixed cropping, on also understanding how to prevent your seed from being contaminated from hybrids, from GMOs, and also to keep your varieties of pure. So it's a lot to learn, and I'm glad Dion is speaking about the youth. And yeah, I mean, we just have to get people understanding and youth interested in agriculture and in agroecology, because for a long time, many young people have also lost interest in growing food. They think that's also like being some kind of punishment. So I think it's until you get in the garden and you start realizing how wonderful it is to be in the garden and start connecting with your environment, which is so important in the city, especially. So, you know, even though we live in polluted environments in the city, there are spaces that we can take over, we can start growing, we can get the little ones interested in growing. And there's quite big networks of people trying to grow in cities, and there's lots of organizations, for example, in Gauteng that we can also link you with to give support. So yeah, it's just a step-by-step process. And you've got to start somewhere, and the more people you can get growing, it's also very important for nutrition. I mean, as I said, one of the big problems is malnutrition in the country because people are just eating pap, you know, and nothing else. And malnutrition is about food diversity. And there's a lot to learn that I'm just learning about that as well. It's not just about like what you eat, but also the microbes in your stomach, which are essential for your health and for your, even your moods. They affect your moods if you don't have your microbes in your stomach, and you need diverse microbes, and you only get that through eating diverse food. So we really need to up the diversity in our diet, in our environment. Yeah, all of that. So lots to learn, but yeah, step by step, and we're always here to share information. As an organization, we don't provide resources other than information, and we support with training. Yeah, so you can also look on our website, and I'll put the address up where you can find some resources. But if you've got any questions, please feel free to put them in the group, and I'll try to answer them and link you in with whatever support I can find for you.
Thank you very much. Vanessa, one more thing. Could you please explain the difference between OPV seed and the common seed that is sold on the market? And what type of seed should these people be looking for if they want to plant and they can't find it?
Yeah, okay, so what's happening is that seed breeding, which has over time become more and more corporate owned, is focused on hybrid seed. And so on the packets, you'll see F1 hybrid, or it'll say hybrid somewhere. And what that means is that that seed is it's bred to be very uniform. So when you plant it out, you get the same kind of plant. It looks exactly the same and will grow exactly the same. And it produces a lot the first time you plant it. So you know, it's because it's got that hybrid vigor, it produces well. But when you save it, it won't grow out the same at all, and it won't produce properly. So people who try and save that hybrid seed just get a flopped crop the second time round. Whereas open pollinated varieties, you get different kinds. There's like a backyard garden market that talks about heirloom seeds, which are old vegetables that people have kept, but you can't get them in big quantities. Or we like to talk about farmer managed seed systems, or farmer seed, or yeah, there's different names for it, but it's basically seed that's got a lot of diversity in it. When it grows, it doesn't all look the same. When it fruits or produces grains or whatever, they don't all look uniform and exactly the same. But that diversity in it is good because it brings resilience. If there's variety, you know, like a change in temperature or water or whatever, they're more resilient. But what you can do then is that when you save them and replant them, you'll get a crop, they'll grow. So even though they look different, or, you know, like might not be uniform. So it's very important when you buy seed to check that it's an open pollinated variety, OPV, or it's heirloom, or you've, if you are getting it directly from farmers, make sure that they are maintaining their distance from commercial farms where they could cross-pollinate and contaminate their seed, because otherwise you could get some issue coming up later on when you plant it. So that's, yeah, just something to bear in mind. But look for open pollinated varieties. Always just ask that they're open pollinated varieties.
Could you also give me a short description on drought tolerant seeds for areas such as the Kalahari, Kuru, and drier areas of the country?
Yeah, so that's also a tricky one. And that's why we say, like, really try and go into your community if you're wanting to start something and ask around, say who's been growing stuff, who's had seed, because seed adapts over time to the environment that's in. And that's why farmer varieties are so important. So it's also no good, like if you come from KZN and you take seed to the Kalahari, it's not going to be adapted there. But there are crops that are more naturally more drought tolerant that are traditional African crops. So that's also a problem that we've taken on maize, which has been also a part of the process of colonization, whereas indigenous African grains were sorghums, millets, legumes. So there's a lot of legumes that are very drought tolerant, like pigeon pea, cowpea, that originated in Africa, the millets, the sorghums. And so we're going to have to go back to growing those and eating those. They're more tricky to harvest, to prepare. And if there's people in your community who still know how to do that, go and learn from them now before the knowledge is lost. Because also with climate change, the thing to remember is that if the rest of the world, if the climate goes up by 2 degrees, it means we go up by 4. It means we're not going to be able to grow maize in South Africa. It means we're not going to have cattle in a lot of the country. So we need to now start learning how to grow those more resilient crops and start learning how to eat them, how to cook them, reintroducing them into our food cultures, because we've all adopted these global diets that are, just a few varieties of things we all have become used to eating, and they're not what's going to survive into the future, and they're not from here. So yeah, I mean, you guys also have like amazing traditional foods like makata and all those things. Yeah, they're there. We need to know more about them and learn as young people how to work with them, how to eat them.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. That's Vanessa on environmentalism and agroecology and seed. And for more information, Vanessa Black will be dropping information in the chat, in our WhatsApp group, as well as this Zoom group, to find out more. Vanessa, just before I wrap up with you, could you please share the poster of indigenous seed in our continent, the one from Biowatch? A very, very beautiful poster that shows you which is the seed varieties, and a lot of y'all will recognize this seed if you all come from ghettos or from rural parts of South Africa. We still do have these foods. It's the foods that we really forgot, because a lot of us has lost our grandparents. And this was foods that we grew up with old people. And please look at these posters and ask advice about these seeds. The seed is actually the big problem we do have, because a lot of us don't understand what seed to buy at Checkers. We see these seeds hanging in front of us. We think it's a good thing. Question them. Question the labeling on your packets of your food. Read your labels. Some of you'll know what is genetic food, GMOs, but a lot of you don't read the facts of your maize, of your flour, even of your Simba chips. It is written on it, may contain genetic organisms. So please, that's a very big lesson and an ongoing lesson for the rest of our lives as we know it, due to genetically modifying food for future food securities that's actually failing us now. Next, I would like to bring in Dave. Dave works with water and has studied water. So if there's anybody here that I love the way he explains it. And water is very important. Seed and water at this moment in indigenous lives has become a very, very big problem. From cattle overgrazing areas and eating indigenous food systems that indigenous people rely on instead of our normal vegetables. And as water is being affected, which actually grows all the food systems. So next we have Dave, and we can get questions asked today. We please have Dave unmuted on water.
Hello, everybody. So yeah, so my background is in more an earth science side of things, so geology, then geography, but I sort of was specializing in hydrology. I think a big lesson that I learned is we really need to change the way that we think about water. You know, you ask someone, where does water come from? What are they going to tell you? The tap. but that's not the way it works. This water is in this incredibly complex cycle. It's moving in the atmosphere. It's moving through the rocks. You know, it's moving in our rivers. We really need to change, and maybe that's the big problem we have with water, is we've made it too convenient, that you can just go and turn your tap on. But we really need to start respecting our water. It's absolutely horrible where I am in Centurion. The Henops River flows through us, and you can't stand next to that river. It stinks. It's absolutely disgusting. And then the problem is, my friends, my affluent white friends will drive past and say, this is disgusting. You know, there are people who wash their clothes in this. There are people who are taking shits in the river. But that's not the problem. The problem is that we've got sewage works that aren't treating the water properly. They're putting chlorines, they're putting chemicals into the water that aren't doing what they need to do, and then they're pumping that into the river. So I think we really need to rethink about the whole way we think about water, and we need to stop victimizing the people who are dependent on that water, who live off the water, because that's not their problem. The problem is with us affluent communities who have no understanding of the importance of water. And then I think if I can just talk a little bit about the situation that's happening in northern Botswana and Namibia, northern Namibia, in the Kavango Basin, where a Canadian oil company has been test drilling for oil in one of the most incredible water systems that the world still has to offer. Really, it is the jewel of Africa, they call it. And I don't know if anyone's been lucky enough to go up to the Okavango Delta. I have, and it's like nothing you've ever seen. That water is crystal clear. There's elephants just walking, you know, you can see the fish swimming in the water. It is beautiful. And when I saw that, I thought, wow, this is incredible. This is a space that is still wild, that hasn't been polluted by colonialism and this Western just use sort of mindset we have. You know, don't worry about the environment. That's someone else's problem. I'll be dead long before then. And I saw this is a place where the pollution hasn't got to, and sadly now that's what this Canadian oil company is trying to do. Now, from what it appears is that this company has no idea what they're doing. They don't know if there is oil, first off, and if there is oil, they don't have the means to extract it. So it's what they call it a pump and dump sort of scam, really, where they're trying to hype up this, and you have oil.com and you have these things calling this is the fossil fuel find of the century, of, you know, but it's not. And they're just trying to get people to invest, and then they're going to leave it. They're going to take the money and they're going to run. But the problem now that's happening is now they're getting the politicians involved in Namibia, and there's this excitement about development in this historically very poor area in Namibia. So we've done a lot of work. There's we did that walk in protest. But sadly, I mean, these things are just they're battles being fought on social media. Who's buying shares? You know, who's got the right PR? So yeah, just spread the word on what's happening. And that this company, Recon Africa, doesn't have the means. They're lying to Namibians. And even if they did have the means, they would destroy one of the world's most precious resources, which in times like these, we need to value so highly. So thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thank you about that. Thank you very much. and that's a reminder about what is happening currently in South Africa. You find like in George, where the community there is also been fighting drilling of gas in the ocean, and we're going to be seeing a lot of this trend of environmental disasters happening in our continent, and it has become like a jackpot, where suddenly Southern Africa or from Central Africa down looks like this amazing portal of a lot of wealth from resources, which actually sits on land that is from war-torn communities and genocidal communities, as well as communities already deprived due to colonization. Now, if we allow us in modern cities to be bullied by companies, corporate companies, and keep quiet about dumping and leaks and factories not following the protocol they should, it does really affect other places in the world that is keeping quiet because they don't know these trends of how to fight back. This is one of the reasons why we have people like Vanessa Black in these talks, Annette as well, which is environmentalist, and people that knows their jobs actually defending us. It's very hard. It is not easy. I've spent time now with the factory and community, how can I say, guardians, because that's what these women and men are. And to fight for these environmental disasters is not an easy thing without the right tools. It's not about elders, it's about the younger generation understanding what environment they're living in and what are the laws that we have placed there that is not really protected. And these people really protect these laws. So for young people to become environmentalists, it is also to understand policy and these laws created that actually hurts your life, not just nature. Nature gets hurt and we get one last. Next, what I would like to have is Shani. I would like to ask Shani to elaborate more on the land problems they face in the Hadzabe community, which actually started to be affected by environmental laws as well, and policies that actually outlaws indigenous people on their own land. So, Shani, could you tell us more about these laws that should have protected us as indigenous people and how we as the youth should get involved in finding out more about how to protect land rights?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Q. Yeah, this is a wonderful questions. And to be honest, I think in the Hadzabe people, they're one of the community here in Tanzania who got suffered a lot with the challenges of environmental and also land issues a lot, because the lifestyle of these people is not be recognized within the system, and there's no any policies which are recognizing anything about our lifestyle, like hunting and our activities, our accept our cultures, So most of the time, in the Hadzabe people, for more than 40 years, we suffer a lot with no recognition of land ownership, and also we have been always be evicted within our land, our own land, with others people, and nothing else happens to the government, even if some of the cases be reported to the government, but the government that doesn't care about what exactly these people are doing, because the interest of the government here in Tanzania is they want the land to be used, and they produce something, produce like a certain productions, and in some things economical. So as a people, we don't have anything like that doing like a business or doing keeping animals and maybe doing farmings, so they are not comply the interest of government. So the most of the years as a people, we have been suffering 40 years until the UN organization, the UN people, and also French organization around Tanzania come out and try to interpret a system within the constitutions of our countries. And when you look at the articles of the constitution, I recognize the right of human beings. Like every single human being within this country, they have a full right to enjoy, to participate. As long as they are Tanzania, they are citizens of this country, as long as anything what they are doing within the right, not beyond or not preaching the system of the government. So after those people coming around and try to defend the right of these people and try to stand in behalf of them to say and speak out, we see a lot of the positive things happen, because the government try to take action to understand what we are doing, understand exactly that we are hunters and we are gatherings, and also we are much friendly a lot with the environment. We are keeping the environment very friendly, and we are using environment as everything, because we got food from there. We're hunting animals, but we are not hunting like a poach, like hunting frequently. We're hunting for food, and also we are keeping environment very safely. And after that, the government realized of this, it seems like it's too late, because most of the land of the has been taken with other people. So what we're gonna do? That people start to create a different policies that tax forces to educate others communities about the rights of these people, and how we're gonna give them a piece or portion of land in order these people to still exist. Because at the end of the day, their populations decrease because there is no more land. Land is taken, and it's to be covered with a farm of farmers and also business people. And this people, seems like a homeless within their origins land. And this is, and also the forces from outsiders, like the UN Declaration of Indigenous People, it's come around, and also a law, they create a law, the articles which forcing Tanzania to recognize the right of the certain communities, like the hunter-gatherers here in Tanzania, and also pastoralists, to be recognized within the systems. And that to fear the government to try to go back and try to settle and figure it out which policies are going to be a friend in order to defend and also recognize these people. So it will take 8 years from the 2004 up to 2007. There's a lot of meetings take over day to days and years and weeks and months. People coming, doing a lot of seminars, a lot of conferences, because the government, they try to understand it. Who are those people, and why these people that are still living in this backwardness lifestyle, which we are never need it anymore. And we want to move, we want to develop, we need to be a people of productions, to produce some things, to earn some things in our economics. Why these people, they doesn't do anything? They're still living in the bush, lazy, hunting our animals. We got a lot of money from the tourists, and these people still hunting our animals, and we are using a lot of money to protect those animals, because they understand the nature of these people, So after the meetings and conferences from international stakeholders and also local organizations and the government, and also some of the Hadzabe people, they are joining within that meetings. And then 2011, that was be the final meetings before we got recognitions of the land ownership of the Yaeda-Chini Valley, and be recognized within our policies, but not in illegals, because still when you go in the constitutions or go in the land law, it doesn't recognize at all. That title we got as a recognition is not a title which give us a power to stand before the court to defend that land. Still, there's a lot of influence, a lot of people coming within that land. Still a lot of people coming from different angles. We are bringing a lot of cases in the government, but there is not any action they're taking, because still the system is the same. And international people still come in here and try to speak with the government, but the government is still like, oh, yeah, it's always like a politics, they say, yeah, we recognize these people, we do this and this, we do that and that, but at the end of the day, nothing happens, so there's a lot of challenges going on here. And for instance, right now we have more than 4 cases. People from others area coming to the land of the Hadza people. They take the, imagine the Hadza have a house here. He or she, they live there for years and years. They have no idea about the school. They have no idea about anything. They're just living in there. And there's somebody from nowhere coming there and saying, this is my land. I got it from the government. This is my document. This is my proof. And then the Hadza people said, how come that's your land? This is our land because I'm living here. This is my house. I said, no, I need you to break your house. You are no longer needed here. So you need to get it out. So, and people like me, we are doing a much. We are doing a lot here to defend the communities and try to bring the case in a court and defend these innocent people. And sometimes I use a lot of my time to educate my people, to educate their rights, to understand the importance of land, to defend it, because it is only a small portion of land. If you allow that, like previously, to let these people coming in here, nobody who's going to help you, because the government is too far with us. The government doesn't support us. Only government that is supporting is the interest, their interest. They're looking for investors. They're looking for the other people who are using that land. And because in Tanzania, the land is not to belong to the single person, it's to belong to the government. So the government, they can decide whatever they wanted within the land. It's not you. So the people like this at the Hadzabe, they've been suffered a lot for years and years. And right now, like when you come here and visiting, maybe one day Q, when you come over here in Tanzania and visiting Hadzabe people, you will say, what's going on over here? Why are these people living in mountains where there's nothing, there's no resources in there? You can imagine that. You can see even the children's and the women's and the men, they are looking for food because the land was taken everywhere, every parties. So they're looking for food for days. And then they got one meal for day, because there's no more animals, there's no more tubers, there's no more fruits, everything are taken down with the people who are looking for their own interest. So the Hadzabe people living within they hanging around like a homeless people. And we brought a lot of cases like that in the government, and we try also to organize with also international stakeholders. Yeah, we can say thank you a lot for international organization, because they're pushing a lot the government, but it's still a government that doesn't even care, because this their land, this their country, they cannot decide whatever they want to do. And when you look like in Tanzania, we are signed a lot of international treaties of indigenous people, but we are never respect all those treaties. The government always are looking for their interest, the economic development, or to move on. It's not like maybe see that. No, we need to look what exactly our people, every single group within our country, they need, they want it. They don't look about that. They're only looking for the investors from outside who come over here and take over our lands and push away the innocent people who doesn't, and sometimes relocated us, to bring us in an area where there's nothing we can get it at all. And when we bring the case, they say, oh yeah, this is the land, you can go and use it. So no, this land is not, it's not enough for us to get anything, because we need a food, because you guys all destroy our food securities. Here, everything's a bit destroyed. Okay, we need our home back, but no one who will listen to you. So there is a lot of challenges, same like in other places here in Tanzania. And now I think you already hear the case from Maasai people in Ngorongoro Crater. They're being evicted a lot. This always the Maasai, they have a lot of lawyers, very competent lawyers. Some of them that work in the UN. They try a lot to write to the articles, to write a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, nothing happened. The government is still pushing, push them away. That no, this land belongs to the animals, not belong to you guys. And this animal, they earn us a lot of money for years and years, not you. You can go anywhere. We can give you another land. Without understanding that that's the origins of those people. They have no way to go.
Thank you.
Even if you can bring them somewhere, it's gonna be a disaster. So I think in a short is that is the main issues happen here, and we have been suffered a lot with a lot of challenges. And thank you for our friends and other organizations and who working closer with this community. Yeah, we are keep moving. Slowly. I think they will understand. Thank you.
Yes, people like Shani has described now, the situation with indigenous people in Africa is very tragic. Shani actually is San, Southern African native. Now, have you all ever heard of a San tribe called Hadzabe?
Yeah.
This is the tribe. He is a San tribe. The Maasai is a San tribe. Now, these are San tribes you are not familiar with, but because we know Khoisan. And we only focus on Khoisan problems, yet our San problems, or if you want to call it Khoisan problems, is actually African problems. It is not only to South Africa. This is a misconception about the political arena in South Africa being in this Khoi problem, and it blocks us from seeing our other brothers up on the east, a Hadzabe tribe that actually is facing something worse than us, that calls ourselves indigenous without identity. Another problem the Hadzabe is facing is cows. Our meat system and our food quarter of human life, cow, eating meat, is part of the greatest effect of harm to indigenous people in Africa. Every time I used to buy a burger or buy a steak or a piece of biltong, I never knew what I am doing. Today, I'm very conscious about how much meat I eat and the quantity of meat I eat. Because that quantity of meat I eat is actually the risk the Hadzabe, the Maasai, the Tun, the Khoi, all Southern African natives face due to our new indoctrinated diet of eating a cow, which does not exist in our bloodline nor in our history. Today, these cows herd and overherd eating foraging foods of indigenous people. And now we have to adapt to a new food security called vegetables. Like how the Hadzabe can confess, we don't eat vegetables. It is an alien form of diet to an indigenous diet. Today, food security, agroecology, all this natural food we are growing to protect ourselves, in a way, saves the world from hunger, yes, but minimizes the chances of indigenous people ever holding on to their IKS, their indigenous knowledge systems, especially their food systems. So also to understand what does it do to grow food that doesn't come from where you are. You minimize the chances for some tribe that doesn't eat what you eat, and their livelihood diminishes because of your diet. This is realities, people, that we need to question, not just the food laws, but what is the food laws and the food policy laws are doing to people like the indigenous community, especially the Southern African native, which is not just South Africans. They go up as far as Egypt, where we have sun. Not just here. Ethiopia has sun, Congo has sun, Tanzania has sun, Kenya has sun. We are a lot, not just South Africa, but it is up to countries like South Africa that has got a better advantage in information, in network, in internet, to bring up the arguments and the topics of problems that Shani can and finds difficult with, as well as the Namibians in North Namibia and Botswana with their water fights within the Kavango. So there we go, people. If there's anybody who would like to ask Shani a question, please now. Is there any questions for Shani? Well, I have a question for Shani. Shani, could you please explain to me the rites of passage of the Hadzabe right now, the youth? How much of your youth is actually given the capability and ability to understand your laws, your indigenous laws? Because in South Africa, we have a problem where people state that they understand indigenous laws, but they actually only understand the UNDRIP policy. They really don't understand indigenous, or they've only read the IOL. Could you more in depth explain to me, for example, like in Arizona, where you studied in South America, what does the Indian community in Arizona, how important it is for them to study these laws, as well as you as a Hadzabe?
I think the things I've been learning when I was in Arizona is completely different with what I expected, because the laws which I was learning is about the Native Americans in there, and within the history, before colonizations and after colonizations, and how they went through and they're going through right now with a lot of exploitations from the farmers, for the people who come in that countries. I mean, immigrant people, and also and those people who come in there as a slavery, who are take over everything and control those Native Americans, within their system, because the things that we learned there, the Native Americans in that they have their own system, they have their own government. You know, they create their own legal system, they create their own constitutions. You know, they are being respected, but it's not much respected. And it's same like as in Africa, how we have been suffered a lot with our own government, who they are not comply our own interests, that comply the interests of the former colonial countries. You know, so the experience which I've been here and compare with my countries here in Africa, you know, I've been seeing that most of the constitutions and most of the mother's laws of our nations, you know, we are not created by ourselves, you know, that we are creating ourselves through the interest of every single group, every single tribe within our continent. Most of our laws are being created through interest of the outsiders, like the Western countries. That's the same exactly when I looked at the laws of the indigenous policies and the legal system. It's not all about a Hadza or Khoisans or maybe a San or Maasai. It's all about Africans. You know, that we are the indigenous of this country. Yeah.
So there you have it, people. The importance for the youth to understand and for us finding youth to practice or study indigenous law is very important. We do not have our own policy makers. We do not have our own lawmakers. We have, like Shani says, external influences coming from the outside of Africa into Africa, making these decisions. And in that is where we find the mismanagement of culture, of our own economy, of our own spiritualism, of our own African life. It becomes mismanaged. It's not that Africa is actually, you know, unruly. We actually do have good governance in Africa, but it is these external people who comes into Africa and changes the youth. It changes your life. And the more you keep quiet as the youth of South Africa or Africa, the more you give an opportunity, an avenue for a foreigner to come out and invest in your country and changing your livelihoods laws. So we need more indigenous people and youth to inquire within this. Next, I would like to touch on culture. And this is where I will pick up on talking on culture. There's one of my sisters still coming up on the topic of cannabis and what we can do for our community. And Angela just popped up. So let's give Angela. Angela is not doing well. The sister of mine is very hard at work and at the moment suffering with a bit of COVID in the UK. So let's welcome Angela quickly. She can't be long on, and I just hope that she recovers for us. It's really important. Angela, could you unmute yourself, my sister, and welcome.
Hey, brother, how are you?
I love your voice. Thank you for being okay.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's been a journey. My gosh.
So, people, this is Angela, and Angela will discuss with you her views on cannabis and what it can do for us. She's an activist who strongly fights for cannabis laws in Namibia, and at the moment stuck in the UK, but we hope to have her back home, as well as one of the family members of the Gubi family, as myself. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Q. I really appreciate being here. Sorry, I can't put my video on because my it's just not enough signal on the WhatsApp. So yeah, I basically advocate for cannabis, and I believe that we can truly make a difference to the communities in Namibia, you know, especially the rural communities and the San communities, in terms of utilizing cannabis and the industries that come with it to empower people and give them sovereignty, you know, and set up industries that are small scale and that are achievable, and industries where they can partake and utilize their skills. So for me, cannabis is definitely one of those plants, not only in terms of the medicinal usage, which that knowledge is within those communities anyway already, you know. We just need to provide them with the platforms and the support to be able to bring that back and to have their voices heard on that. But also in terms of whether it's, you know, like weaving or textile making, or for the livestock, you know, making food. I think there's a lot of potential to set up industries within the areas, within the conservancies, you know, in Namibia, for example. The other thing for me as well is looking at the landscape in Namibia. You know, it's very dry. As you know, you've gone to visit the Gubi family up in the Kalahari, you know, even up in Sumkwe, it's very, very dry and water is an issue. But there's still opportunity to maybe, you know, set up small scale grows, or what we spoke about is do like, you know, work together with other communities.
As Angela said, she always has negative problems. But yes, Angela is really looking at ways to use cannabis holistically, not as, like, for example, sorry to say, as we in South Africa, but we really abuse this plant and not really use this plant to its full capacity and potential. Is where this woman is trying to change the water and food problems by understanding how to grow cannabis to actually help this farm communities that really can't hold it for work. They illiterate to the sense of illiteracy that we have, they don't have, they don't our illiteracy. And using plants and their natural way of life and their hands brings this. It's not to say that cannabis is the indigenous product, but it's a product that is still similar to the indigenous life. It gives them fuel, it gives them materials to make their own clothing, and also to go to. So I'm very sorry that you can't have a good method from Angela, but Angela covers a very large range of the cannabis topic and actually solutions that will work for poor communities, especially in remote rural communities with very less waters, with very less land, and also finding ways to create other forms of feeding livestock with cannabis instead of it foraging on our business land. So Angela, please drop into the links more information about yourself. And for certain people I know that's in this Zoom that has got cannabis in mind to share information, I think Angela is one of the people we should be talking about in that. Our fight is quite extensive. We have questions. I see we have Vernon Moster that would like to ask a question. Your hand is up, Vernon.
Yes, good day, Q. How are you?
I'm well, Vernon. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Long time, small world, this one. Small, very small world. And I'm quite fortunate to meet you now on Zoom again after I don't know what happened, but coming in?
After platform break.
Still going strong, but my wife is gone. She's not a teacher there anymore. But nevertheless, I must say I'm quite honored to be on this platform this morning. I mean today. Yeah, just open up the mind of human nature. Because as you have just mentioned just now, the burgers, the food to be eaten, so contaminated, if I may use that technology. And the previous speakers spoke about water as well. And I think the influence of outside of Africa, it's that more sees the dollar sign and the destroying of human nature and the human race. And I give you and I salute you for what you and your crew are doing on behalf of nature. I believe more and more of us can benefit intellectually out of these kind of sessions, to empower ourselves and our youth for future, because there's only one planet. If this one is gone, there's no. So that means all of us are gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Vernon. Vernon is one of the people who's seen us work in the field and what type of environments we work in. These environments are food security hostile environments. And putting food in these areas and water information in these areas is to do with language and culture. Now I would like to touch on a more cultural point and at the ending of our discussions. Culturally, I have some of the chiefs here. I have Martha here from Platfontein. I have Chief White. I have a lot of cultural people here. There's something about the indigenous community that we forgot. Like we have Hadzabe in a rural state and Shani talking on that. We fail to talk about the urban indigenous youth and their lack of knowledge about the indigenous youth. And this cultural difficulty comes into play where we were only taught to learn the past. And we were only taught to learn the geography, the history, the curriculum of who we are and what we have, which in the end removed actually a large part of our questioning of Aboriginal or Indigenous. We practically only calling ourselves Indigenous in our country for the past 5 years. And before then, we were either hot or colored. But now that we understand the word and the technicalities of the word Indigenous or Aboriginal, we find ourselves with two communities, two people in that one community. One of a rural, how can I say, friendly and Aboriginal, and one of a city Aboriginal. Today, our cultures are clashing. And in that clashing, it's amazing what the evolution of life does. But you need to understand your roots. If you don't understand your history and your calling as whatever you say you are, you can't claim that. And today our urban indigenous has that problem. Certain of the speakers that was going to make it on that did not make it due to where they are in either Namibia, Botswana, and somewhere here in South Africa. So on the cultural point, I would like us to look at, what is it to be Nama and what is it to be San? To be Nama is to be a Nama cultural person and speaking the language of Nama. To be San is to speak a group of languages or uniquely in these groups like the Hadza, like the Kwe, the Kumi. And these people today are the custodians of something that needs not just promotion, but needs to be spoken about openly. Because the troubles we have in South Africa today, while I travel the entire country, is questions of who am I Q? Q, can you tell me who am I? Am I Koi? Am I Koi Koi? Am I Sam? Am I Nama? And these questions come out a lot. So as the youth of South Africa and of this indigenous youth, it is a very important question to keep on asking. And the topic of that will go on. Unless I had more of my peers here on the topic, I could have referred it into the language and the cultural differences we have and the evolution of it to where we sit today. But unfortunately, I would have to have 3 or 4 of my elders there, and unfortunately can't, which means I will be interviewing them on that type of information you would need to know and who they are that can help you for questions of who's Nama, what is actually the way Koi Koi, what does it mean to be Koi? It's a political word. It's not actually an indigenous word. It doesn't belong to us. And also, what do you need to activate in you as youth in the now? People ask me very important questions, but unfortunately, like I said, half my elders that could have made it is not yet to be difficulties, so which means I will have to interview them on these topics. So please give me questions in the group and in the WhatsApp group pertaining to your name and what would you like to know from these elders so that I could at least have them answer directly. Everybody else, thank you very much for being here. So if there's any other questions to be asking the water people or law, this is that time now. And please, this is discussions that will not be the end of. And from next time, we'll have more structured talks. This was the first time we have did this. And I can say within this first time we have did this, I think we brought interest in actually wanting to be environmentalists, wanting to be humanitarians, wanting to be the people who actually cares about our spaces in who we are. So if there's any more questions, please, the floor is open. The discussion is now open within the WhatsApp groups as well as this. We will be wrapping up soon, and I will ask Dave to also say something before we actually go on to the question.
Kasab, Gangangs, if I may. I have a question for our brother from Tanzania. I'm actually quite interested to know if he has relations with legal mines in South Africa. I don't know of a movement in our country where we are challenging the state from an indigenous aspect. I mention this because we are currently in court in not last year, the beginning of last year, sorry, in March, when we began occupying land. The state has taken us to court. We are going on the basis of UNDRIP as well as Aboriginal title. The court case is constantly delayed, and I think, or we are quite sure it is due to the fact that the state is unsure of how to handle it. The challenge that we immediately found is we do not have access to indigenous attorneys to fight our case. That is actually well versed within the laws. So if you could just address that please. I personally would be interested to engage the local minds if they are, and if you could speak to that, please, Gangangs.
Shani, the brother would like to know if there's any attorneys other than yourself that you know, especially in South Africa, on the land issue and the laws of these citizens that I've known them for being on the fight for quite some time, and they do have that problem where they don't actually have people that they can talk to in the law. So whoever knows any law people, please, this is that those brothers supposed to, you know, assisted or direction. Who do you know in South Africa under the law? Shani, could you answer on that, please? And Shani can also be able to advise as well, my brother. And Sean, Shani is that person
Thank you very much. The question is more interesting. You know, they have a case and it's still delayed because they don't have access to asking for the for attorneys to defend their right. You know, the first of all, you know, my advice is to look for the what indigenous laws international, what they say, and if the South Africa, they are already signed those treaties within their system, you know, like they agree those treaties like UNDP and also maybe laws, you know, because there is some of the other treaty actually maybe South Africa, they already signed it to recognize the right of indigenous people, and that those communities are the one of the indigenous people of South Africa, and they're being recognized within the international people, that's the indigenous people of South Africa, and they have a full rights which are being recognized internationally and within the local government, local laws. It means that if the local laws does not, local remedies and the laws does not recognize them, allow the still case delayed, their need to seeking for help for the international attorneys and international people in order to forcing the government of the South Africa to help it, to give back the right of those group of people. This is how they are, how it works, because most of the local laws, you know, they are not used to give the rights of the local people. Is to exploit them, is to, yeah. So I think the best way, if they are not delayed to give their right back or to hear their case, is the time to them to try to asking for the UN declarations of indigenous people, to asking for those in order to still pushing the government of South Africa and pressurize them in order to give them their right. This is exactly what was happening. One of the case in Canada, you know, for the native people in Canada over there, the government, they wanted to build the pipeline within the territories of the one of the Native Americans, of Canadians, and they're using a force. They are bringing the military there, they bring the police, they are in some time jailed those indigenous activist people, you know, and those people they're asking for, they open the case within the International Court of Indigenous People and accuse the state by try to take over their rights and take over their land. I think that is going to be a good opportunities for those group of South Africa to take another step.
Thank you, my brother. That is what is actually lacking in South Africa. They have more your desktop activists when it comes to land rights and not actually the physical push needed on the ground. We have to stand physically and say, this is my land and I'll die. Now, in South Africa, we do not have that. And that is part of activism in South Africa. I've been really waiting to see this day and age. We have torn down this country for the 1976 riots. We have torn this country down for the laws of apartheid to be taken away from us. And we as indigenous people, we stand with everybody else to do that. And now we don't. So people, here's where we are, and here's where I say, we need to get the solutions to all these questions that we've asked. As we can see, they are not normal questions asked. And the fact that this small group of people online is here on is the fact that we know that these decisions are very personal decisions. It has to change. We need answers to these things from our governments, not from anybody else. But it's a sad thing that this government will not reply on time or sometimes not reply, which means we need to learn these things and find solutions between ourselves. So this is a safe solution that will work for our community. So I would like to start from Vanessa Black, single food. What are the solutions we need to look at even now? Like we should stop buying the certain food or planting or learning things. What is the solutions in food and water and in these rights that we can do? What is it that we can get now on the ground? Vanessa, please.
I think, okay, that's quite a difficult question, but I think what everyone can do now is to, first of all, start being aware of what you're eating. Avoid processed food. It's likely not to be great. And then start learning how to grow your own food. Who's got experience in your community that you can share with or go and learn from, and get access to seed or cuttings or things that you can start your work with. And then remember, good food starts with good soil. So you need to get your soil right, and we can all start by keeping our kitchen cuttings, our bits and pieces that we cut off, composting and putting it back in the soil to get our soil right. So it's just also starting to see the soil as a living thing as well, and everything around us, which I know you guys do, but just to remind ourselves that we're part of this very alive universe and all of it needs respect. And if you respect it from the soil to what's growing, to what comes into your body and to each other, then we're all off to a much better start. Thanks.
Thank you, Vanessa Black. Thank you. Very good day. If we have any solutions from a water point of view?
Yeah, thanks, Stu. And yeah, like I say, rethink the way we think about water. We really need to start respecting water. And I think if some of the sort of indigenous practices around the sort of reverence, the respect, and almost the sort of fear of water, of protecting our water resources, how vital these are, so people can truly start to understand how important these systems are, spiritually, physically, for everything. And also, yeah, with what Vanessa is saying, you know, starting your own veggie patch. We have our domestic uses for water, but then there's also all the water that gets used in growing crops, growing these big monoculture crops that aren't water wise. You know, you can do a lot with the water you have at home, you know, and trying to save rainwater. I mean, I'm privileged enough to have a JoJo tank that I water my veggie garden with. But I mean, when it rains, don't don't be scared, put a bucket outside, get that water. It's a valuable resource. And the water we're getting from the sky is so much better than the water we're getting from the taps. Yeah, thanks guys.
Thank you for that. Another thing I'd like to say, a very important part of also being a business now is the importance of adding these problems to storytelling. And that's where my brother Kabbo comes in. He tells you stories of the spirit, stories of yourself. And he uses you to tell your own story and not actually using activates you. And in this, I've learned a lot from my brother. And his travels in Europe. He took a piece of us to Europe, and he's there where our pain started as Southern Africans, but he's not there angry. He's not there frustrated. He's there teaching their youth today the most valuable things that our youth learn about who we are, to dance, to sound, to movement. And this is where we find ourselves as indigenous people or as human beings. If you can't tell the story of your arm in a paper, use movement, use a drum. So, Kurt, what advice do you have, my brother Kabbo? What advice do you have as a storyteller to us that is forgetting our culture, and due to fighting these things, is there a way we can bring it into what you do and still keep our culture while fighting this madness of Babylon?
Yes, thank you for having me. Yeah, can everyone hear me? Yes?
Yes,
Steve, can you
yes,
hear
we
me?
can hear you.
Okay, bless.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's to
Sticker bush.
I've missed most of the session, but I've heard some good sharing. I think for me the first and most important thing is to know that whatever challenges we face, it was already foretold, it was already foreseen by our ancestors. One of the things that I try and let people realize is that for whatever reason, call it whatever you feel comfortable in your heart and in your imagination to call it. Whether you want to call the creator God, whether you want to call the creator Kaugwa, whether you want to call the creator Tialochi, whether you want to call the creator, whatever you want to call the creator, I try and make people realize, yes, that if you're going to create a species and introduce it into an environment, which in our context would be the earth, yeah, you would have to place that creation. This is just me thinking practically. You'd have to place that creation in the most, in an environment that it would be most suited to its potential to survive. Yeah. So if you look at Southern Africa, I'm not talking about South Africa alone, because South Africa is not a name. Yeah. South Africa has no cultural relationship to any of us who are from that soil. Because if you say South Africa, you should include, and this is not to diminish anyone, but if you say this is just the term, it's a location. Yeah, if you say South Africa, then you have to include Namibia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Botswana, Lesotho, Eswatini. You would have to include them all. So South Africa, to start with, and it's not a name, it's a location in relation to the colonialists, yeah, and their hangovers we're dealing with. Now, if you look at Southern Africa, let's use, we know it as Tutwa, we know it as Azania, because Azania was a term that was more familiarly brought back into our current form of existence, but also it's an ancient term. So people talk about ancient civilizations, then they start Sumeria, and they say Egypt. But actually, the Bible that people are, that our people are now so prophesizing and attached to, the Bible, that's our story. Yeah, if you look at our genetic and DNA matrilineal makeup, we got the oldest genes on the planet. which means Adama and Eva's story is not some funny European story, it's our story. And if you look at South Africa or Southern Africa, you have diamonds, you have platinum, you have gold, you have silver, you have iron ore, you have bronze, you have copper, you have 4 different climates just in one little location. You have 2 oceans, you have 2 fresh water sources where there's an ancient story with 4 rivers that's been dried up. Q knows more about that aspect of that story. So if you look about paradise or the Garden of Eden, you'd have to find it in Southern Africa. Just to try and, I'm going to try and keep it as short as I can, but it's so much. I'm always bursting and I don't always have the right people to speak to, yeah? The other thing is, if you wanna, everyone's talking about the soil and the land, and we need to respect it. It's very simple. We need to respect ourselves, yeah? The nature that we are, I'm living over here in my house and nature is over there. That's a bridge we need to close. That's a bridge we need to close within how we view our own nature. Because how I've been able to survive over here in the most hostile environment you could possibly place me in is I've had to rely on memory. I've had to rely on conversations and imaginations and things that me and Q spoke about 15 years ago already. Isn't that right, Q? Even longer than 50 years. Me and him dreams, this type of work, this getting things together. And in a way, is to restore our own memories within our own selves and to start finding ways to delineate the false narrative, the false story about us. Because like in South Africa, South Africa, just using that term very loosely, just for this experience, South Africa for the indigenous people is hell. Yeah, in South Africa, the clan that I now associate with was declared extinct. If you look at it, if you look at all the resources, you look at the wealth, the natural wealth, how could it be possible that indigenous people are struggling? There was a study done, yeah, at 2011, where they looked at all the actual wealth that South Africa has, Southern Africa, yeah. It came down to if equality and democracy were to have been true. Q, just tell me when I need to wrap up, yeah. Let me not bore people, yeah.
2 minutes left, my brother.
They did a study, 2011, it was released, taking all the wealth of Southern Africa into consideration. South Africa again, forgive me. Yeah, it came down to each, and if wealth was redistributed and democracy and all this stuff that people like to talk about was to become a real fact, it would mean that each and every household, this includes each and every shack, this includes Namibia, this includes Botswana, yeah. Each and every household would be entitled and to receive $6,000 per month. Try and imagine that. I'm talking about, we're talking about maybe how many people is in South Africa now, say for just for my lack of experience, 90 million or 60 million. Round about that total. They took into consideration in this study 100 million. So imagine 100 million people, how many households? Each one entitled to $6,000 per month. We are not poor, yeah? We are being deprived, and that's why the activists, I can only give thanks to the activists on the ground, keeping the memory alive. People you need to speak to in South Africa is, if you haven't yet, natural justice. In 2013 and 2012, 13, we did an indigenous study all over, specifically focusing again on Tanzania or South Africa. Yeah, we went to all the indigenous clans we could find. We documented all the languages, and we looked at the state that the people were in. Natural justice has got that information. Take down that note for and they are active advocates and lawyers who were initially working on forwarding the indigenous situation in South Africa. Natural justice, yeah. The problem we had in 1996, I'm jumping now, so I'm just getting excited, I guess. Q, just shut me up when I need to, yeah?
And you have a minute left, brother.
Okay.
We
So
will be
ultimately what I
this
want to say,
in a WhatsApp group for others that doesn't have the resources to come online. So this, if this ends, it does continue in the WhatsApp.
yes, okay. So please put down natural justice. Please look them up. Please get in contact with them. They've got connections to the UN. The main problem we had was in 1996, there was a collective of people who wanted the indigenous people to be recognized. And all we needed to be recognized on the UN was for the president at the time who needed to sign off on that recognition. He refused. You know who the president at the time was. He refused to sign that document. The reason he refused was if the indigenous people at that time were to be recognized, then they would have had to redo the democracy. They would have had to redo and look at what would be considered national languages. They would have had to redo and all of their politicking that they got us tied up in and calling us fake names like colored and so-called colored. They would have had to address that. They had no interest to, because the whole world's economic structure is held together by South Africa's diamonds. The whole, listen to this, Europe, America, all of them is held together by South Africa's diamonds, South Africa's gold, and South Africa's platinum quality. Our wealth, look at me, look at yourself. Our wealth, yeah, is holding up this whole demonic economic structure that we are all now looking to for handouts. The wealth is not here where I am. The wealth is where we are, where you are. Yeah.
Correct. Thank you.
Thanks, Q.
Thank you, everybody. That's a nice closing and quite the truth. You are sitting on the wealth. Europe is quite broke.
Oh, no, they're broke. They've been broke forever, mate.
Forever. Yeah, it's been your money, your opportunity since forever. So thank you, everybody. And unfortunately, we have to close this group, but everybody here is on Wi-Fi. And for everybody who has came up, Robin, thank you for being part of this. Honestly, I love what you are doing, and it's very important. My brother, Kabbo, always been a remarkable example in my life. Sean, thank you. Vanessa, Chief White, Elaine Apples, Vernon Mostert. Vernon, thank you. Pass my regards to your wife. Somebody that IYX Africa really needs to work with in the future. Martha, thank you very much. On the tune, Shamila Kaji, Neville and his wife Felix, Clarice come. Michaela Felix, thank you as well as Angela and Thurston. Shani and Galaxy 810 is, I'm really not sure who that is, but your Galaxy, it's nice to have you. We're not Aphrodite Galaxy. Anyway, everybody, thank you very much. To my brother Dave, thank you very much. And this discussion does go on in the group. And whenever we do have time, the information is always updated and in that group. We will notify the release of this video, which will come out on YouTube so that you can at least see copies of it, and we will make it downloadable so that you can at least have your own copy of this and also use it and see the information. Please do ask us for contacts of people in this Zoom and in this conference, as well as in our chat group, that these information bearers really want to share. And honestly, if we're not going to question a lot of what is happening, we will not have a way to develop the problem, the solutions for these problems we have in our society. And I would like to thank everybody for their time. And honestly, this is not something this is going to happen once. We're going to have different forms of this conference, conferences of spiritualism, conferences of environmentalism, as well as conferences of medicinal healing. And all these things will be taking place, but it can't take place without your support. So thank you, everybody, and thank you to the directors and the board of IYX Africa, and as well as my team.
Sorry, Q.
Thank you, Q. Thank you, everyone.
Q,
I'll be in touch. Yeah, we'll continue this conversation on how I can support from this side. Yeah.
Thanks, Chairperson.
Guys,
You were a
before-
great chairperson.
Thank you, Chipol.
Bless.
Before everyone goes, if you don't mind, just please let's get this story what we've had here. Let's put this on social media. We've got a hashtag. It's hashtag IYX conference. Let's talk about some of these things. If you guys don't follow us already, please follow us, and let's build that connection between us that we formed here. Let's strengthen that on social media. Thanks, guys.
Q, sorry for interrupting, my brother. Q. Sorry for interrupting, my brother. My wife just want to need your contact details. I showed her just now, yes, Q, and I said, okay, if possible, please just ask him to I want to make contact with him.
Okay, right, Vernon.
Thanks,
I will
man.
send you now my contact details in the group.
Because I think the two of you are still unfinished business.
Yes, we do have.
Thanks, my brother.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, everybody, and that's my number for WhatsApp in the Zoom group. And for the rest of you, please go over to the WhatsApp group. Things will be there. Cheryl, how you have your hand up, Cheryl?
Yeah. It's Devil. Yeah. No, I just wanted to extend a thank you for the opportunity. And we just wanted to let you know that we want to collaborate with you from the platform of UNDRIP 1652 Leadership Collective. We believe that we have the same fight, and we should join forces in order to pull down the treachery that is at play, not only in Africa, but the global world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's an eagle sitting right in front of me right now on the wall. So I think that is a good sign.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Do you see it, Vanessa?
Definitely. Yes.
Yes, she must be in front of me now.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, so
Awesome.
thank you, everybody. It's been a blessing. The ancestors is blessed. We
Yeah,
have
one
a-
time, my brother, one time.
Bless.
One time, my brother, one time.
So thank
Okay,
you, everybody.
gentlemen,
Again,
thank you for everything, and thank you for everyone for your contributions, man.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Angela. Please recover. Your families all out there, please be COVID safe. Some of us really still think it's a joke. And some of us is really investigating it still. I'm one of them. And my investigations say it is something we need to protect our elders from. Not much our younger, but yeah, my elders to visit and people. It's not about sanitizing, it's an attitude. So get the attitude to save somebody's life. If you can't dive in the ocean to save a life, guess what? By reminding somebody to be COVID ready, you actually save somebody. So thank you, everybody, and get you on the group. Again, thank you, everybody.